World War II was indeed humanity's most horrific war. It is estimated around 70 to 80 million people died in this bloody war. When the war ended in 1945, the world rejoiced knowing what could have been, that is, the takeover of the Nazi Party and the Japanese Empire was no longer a threat. People could live in freedom, no longer having to live in fear. However, after the war, many changes began to happen throughout the world. Changes that most likely wouldn't have happened had the war not taken place. Which begs the question, what if World War II never happened? What would the world be like? What would not exist today? And what would be different today? Before we dive into history and take a look at this hypothetical reality, please be sure to subscribe. Now let's get to it. Had World War II not happened, the Earth would have been vastly more populated. Remember, in World War II, it is estimated that over 7 to 8 million people died during the war. However, if World War II never took place, there would probably be more than 7 billion people on the planet today. World War II showed many countries just how behind they were. Germany had so many weapons that were more advanced than other countries. Take for example the Tiger tank. It's estimated that the Tiger tank took out 11 Allied tanks for every one Tiger tank that was knocked out. So the Allied forces such as the United States, the UK, and the USSR saw that they had a lot of upgrading to do. And upgrading they did, especially the United States, which developed the atomic bomb very quickly, dropping it on Japan and ending the war. Soon the USSR, the UK, and China were not too far behind on developing the atomic bomb. This also can explain the Cold War on why the United States and Soviet Union continued to try and outdo the other during the Cold War. Both sides knew how strong Germany was during World War II, and both sides didn't want the other to be better. So both continued to try and show which form of government was better, capitalist or socialist. In the end, capitalist was the victor, as the Soviet Union fell. But the United States continues to this day to make better military weapons, making the United States a world superpower. The United Nations was created to make sure another world war never happens again. It was created so nations could come together and talk and negotiate rather than having a war suddenly outbreak. If the war never happened, the UN might not exist. It would still be known as the League of Nations, a government organization formed after World War I, but dissolved after World War II to form the UN. During World War II, Japan had a powerful military and was ruled by Emperor Hirohito, and probably still would be ruled by an emperor had Japan not attacked the United States and invaded China, to which they were fighting both US troops in the Pacific and Soviet troops in China. Had this not happened, Japan would be a very different country today, which means there may be no PlayStation or anime. The good news is there still would be Nintendo, but only on cards. Franklin D. Roosevelt was the only United States president that was elected 4 terms. Had World War II not taken place, he probably would have been elected only 1 to 2 terms, just like every other president before him. It would be a while till a president after him would be elected more than 2 terms, but until that day, there would be no term limits for the president. China was at civil war, which started in 1927. It was between the Kuomintang government and the Communist Party. Fighting stopped when World War II happened, and the two sides came together to fight Japanese forces who had invaded China. But once the war was over, the fighting resumed between the two sides. The Communist Party received aid from the Soviet Union, who gave the Communist Party weapons and ammo that they took from Japanese forces during World War II, which helped the Communist Party win. Had World War II not happened, chances are the Chinese Civil War would have had a different outcome. In 1917, at the height of World War I, British Foreign Secretary Arthur James Balfour submitted a letter of intent supporting the establishment of a Jewish homeland in Palestine. The British government hoped that the formal declaration, known thereafter as the Balfour Declaration, would encourage support for the Allies in World War I. When World War I ended in 1918, with an Allied victory, the 400-year Ottoman Empire rule ended, and Great Britain took control over what became known as Palestine, modern-day Israel, Palestine, and Jordan. The Balfour Declaration and the British Mandate over Palestine were approved by the League of Nations in 1922, but was put on hold once World War II started. It wasn't until after, on May 14, 1948, was Israel proclaimed a nation once again. Had World War II never happened, this most likely would have happened much sooner. What are your thoughts? What else would have happened if World War II did not occur? Leave them in the comments below, and if you enjoyed, please subscribe and hit that like button.